Welcome back to T&K Sports Talk, everybody. My name's Thomas,
I'm Kevin.
and today we're going to be continuing our series of division by division breakdowns. As you can tell from behind me, we're going to be doing the NFC North this week. So we have the Packers, Bears, Lions, and Vikings. Before we get started with that, though, we would like to make a T&K Sports Talk announcement. And we are going to be setting up a subscriber-only fantasy football league. So if you want in, just contact either me or Kevin. Kevin's going to be commissioning it. Any other details you want to add, Kev?
Yeah, if anyone wants in on this fantasy league, many of you are fellow friends of both me and Thomas. You can reach us both on Facebook, and some of you are followers on Twitter. And if any of you want in, those are your two platforms to reach out to us to get into the league. Right now, we look to maybe have a 12-team league. You have 4 divisions of 4 teams and make this race for fantasy really fun. And the winner of this division can get a prize at the end of the year.
Yep. So if you want to enter, I'll post our Twitter pages down below. But you can just send us a message on either Twitter, Facebook, or comment below, and we will send you an invite to the league.
Yes, and just to clarify, this is a ESPN league. So if you strictly play ESPN leagues, then this will be for you. This will not be like a CBS league, Yahoo league, like all the different platforms are out the window. This is strictly a ESPN league, and that is where we will go.
Yep. And then we can get started and talk about the NFC North. And let's start with the Green Bay Packers. They've been having a lot going on this offseason with the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. You want to start with them, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, what can't be said about the Packers right now? I mean, on draft night, we heard that Aaron Rodgers' time in Green Bay was coming to an end. I mean, but here we are approaching the first week of the preseason, and Aaron Rodgers is there. Now, he did not hesitate to unload on the Packers front office for why his frustrations are the way they are. He expressed that there were a lot of core locker room guys that were treated very unfairly by said general managers, and the fact that most of them weren't even offered contracts to stay. That of their once great fullback, John Kuhn, he was not offered a contract. Clay Matthews was not offered a contract. Neither was Jordy Nelson. You think of those 3 guys and Aaron Rodgers, all those guys were big parts of that 2010 Super Bowl team that the Packers dominated the Pittsburgh Steelers in. And, right now, I mean, this is still the Packers division. As long as Aaron Rodgers is wearing green and yellow, the NFC North runs through Green Bay. And right now, I don't see anyone that can overcome them, especially if Aaron Rodgers is going to want to, go out and make another run. Because, I mean, you can get into the Tom Brady talk all you want, like, oh, he's playing until he's like 45. Like, Aaron is along the same lines, but he knows that he doesn't have all the time in the world left. He knows that he maybe has 3 really good runs left at this point in his career. So time's ticking a little bit, and he's only sitting on 1 Super Bowl. So a hungry Aaron Rodgers and a motivated Aaron Rodgers is a dangerous Aaron Rodgers, and it could not mean well for the rest of this division.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with the whole uncertainty this offseason with, is Aaron Rodgers going to play for the Packers again? Are they going to trade him? Definitely seems like he's going to play for them now. And I think before he announced that he was going to play for them this season, I don't think they'd be favorites but I think even with Jordan Love starting at quarterback for them, with how good that Green Bay roster is, I think they could still easily compete for winning the division without Aaron Rodgers. Now you throw in an Aaron Rodgers who you said is hungry, wants out of their ring, and is coming off an amazing MVP season. That team is just so stacked. They got Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, Tanyan. Speaking of fantasy football, plenty of people to pick up off that Green Bay roster.
Yeah, and don't sleep on that Green Bay defense this year either. The only reason Green Bay didn't play in that Super Bowl against Kansas City was the fact that their cornerback, Kevin King, was doing his best. Eagles fans, you'll remember this name. He was doing his best Bradley Fletcher impression, giving up yards and touchdowns all NFC Championship game long. And, he was one of the main reasons that they lost. And, they picked one of my favorite corners in the draft, Eric Stokes, to go alongside Jair Alexander. So watch out for that defense, because that's been their main downfall the past couple of years. And if Stokes can come out hot and solidify that second corner spot, it's going to be even harder to beat Green Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, plenty of pass rush too with Zadarius Smith and Kenny Clark and Preston Smith. They definitely have enough talent on both sides of the ball. I'd be shocked if they don't go to at least the NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything other than NFC Championship game appearance is a failure. If the Packers don't reach the NFC Championship game, then Aaron Rodgers leaves.
Yep,
that's where I stand on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because he said in that press conference that he expressed that his frustrations lied with the front office, and if they go out and they don't at least make the NFC Championship, he's gonna put it on them and say, "Look, this is what you guys gave me, so I'm out."
Yep, and really, I don't blame Aaron Rodgers because, like all the stuff you said at the beginning, and also, what do you want this guy to do more for you to give him what he wants? I'm not saying every quarterback is like this, but you look at Tom Brady up in New England. He, seemed like he had his disagreements with Belichick at the end, and they didn't necessarily agree on everything. And you know what? So he left. He went to Tampa, and Tampa said, "Yeah, Tom, whatever you want." And he said, "Okay, I want Gronk, and I want Antonio Brown, and I want this guy, and I want that guy." And what happened? They won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying every quarterback is like that. Every situation is different and everything. But I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he knows football. If he says, "I want this guy on my roster," more than likely, he's probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And then you had I forget if it was last year or the year before, but they had that rookie Jake Kumaro, and all throughout training camp and everything, Aaron Rodgers was like, "This guy looks really good. We got to steal in the draft. I love passing the ball to him." And then they cut him. It's like, come on, guys. You gotta. He's giving you everything he got. You can at least give him a little something in return.
Yeah, I mean, he's 10 times the quarterback that Brett Favre was in Green Bay, yet that front office treated Favre like an absolute god, yet Aaron Rodgers gets the cold shoulder. That's inexcusable to me.
Yeah, the real slap in the face will be when they don't give Rodgers what he wants and he leaves, and then they give Jordan Love everything he wants. It's going to be like, well, what the heck was up with Aaron then?
Yeah. But moving on to into the NFC North, we have another quarterback situation. That is the Chicago Bears, who, they can say it all they want. Andy Dalton is not the quarterback number one in Chicago. It is Justin freaking Fields. I mean, Chicago, I feel like they're in a really interesting spot. Because in 2018 they looked like they were on the rise for the division. In the past couple years, they've stayed steady, and last year they just collapsed. Last year was truly the end for Trubisky. That's why he's the backup in Buffalo now. But Chicago did everything that they needed to do to ensure the future. They got rid of Trubisky and traded up in the draft. Took a lot to do it, but I've always been on the side of, if you feel like this quarterback can transform your team into what you want it to be, there is no price high enough. I mean, there is no price too high. Excuse me. I think Justin Fields will do a lot for this team. And, we have yet to see what the Allen Robinson situation holds. I mean, he's been franchise tagged the past couple of years. Could that have been because of the uncertainty of Mitchell Trubisky? Like, we don't want to give you the contract, and then all of a sudden, like, he goes down, or we bring in someone, and now what? Now we're stuck with a big contract and no QB. But I feel like Justin Fields, if he comes in this year and at least has a connection, the Bears have a really good chance of sustaining their future and really going somewhere, especially if Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay soon. I feel like Chicago would easily take that step into first without any hiccups in their roster, without having to do anything spectacular. Just stay steady with Justin Fields and keep going.
Yeah, there's no doubt with Chicago that they do have a very talented team. Like, their defense is extremely talented with Khalil Mack and Raekwon Smith and everybody, and their offense has plenty of weapons too. Robinson, that kid from last year, Mooney, David Montgomery, who I've seen has been putting in a lot of work this offseason. And you look even last year with the terrible quarterback play they had from Mitchell Trubisky, they were still able to make the playoffs. So I think I agree, Andy Dalton is not going to be the quarterback. I think if Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace weren't as on much of a hot seat as they are, I think they probably would stick to what they want to do and let Andy Dalton play the first season, at least until things go bad, and then put in Justin Fields. But they know that they don't have enough time in their job to allow that to happen. If Andy Dalton plays more than, I'd say, 2 games, I'm sure at least one of, if not both of them, are fired. So I think really what it comes down to is going to be, is Justin Fields ready to play in the NFL? How good is he going to play right out of the gates? I think he has enough talent around him that if he plays subpar, if he plays as good as Trubisky did last year, he'll have a good shot at making the playoffs. But if you get that, wild card, tons of quarterbacks in the NFL have not been number 1 picks, and they've gone on and played great. So if Justin Fields is kind of that late, he still went high, but if he's kind of that later guy that comes in and it tears it up, you could be looking, I kind of doubt it, but you could be looking at like a Super Bowl or at least like an NFC Championship contender right there. If Fields can come in and really just play good football, because their defense is probably going to get them to the playoffs alone. So if Fields can bring anything to that offense, it's going to be really exciting to watch.
Yeah, my only concern with Chicago, though, is their running game. Tariq Cohen, who is, much that of like a Darren Sproles type of running back. That's their running back number 1 right now, and he's coming off of a major knee injury. And we've seen, guys in that stature, when they have those types of injuries, it's really hard to come back from, because they need to rely solely on their speed, and no matter how much rehabbing you do, it lingers a little bit. It's still a little loose in there. Medicine only gets you so far. Rehabbing can only do you so much. It's going to slow them down a little bit. So if there's one concern that I have with Chicago, it's their lack of an elite running game to go with their young quarterback into the new season.
Yeah, I know they signed Damian Williams from the Chiefs too, so that should help them out a little bit. But you're right, they don't really have that, number one elite back per se.
It's not a running back group where, like, if Fields is not having his best day, he can just hand the ball off and hopefully sneak out a win. Like, if that's the two running backs that they're working out with, Fields is going to have to be the reason they win those games and their defense.
Yep, I agree. And we talked about quarterback number one in Fields and number two in Dalton. Man, would it be fun to watch if Chicago decides that they want to trade Nick Foles and trade him to Indy since Carson Wentz is out. Man, would that just be perfect.
And we were just talking about the AFC South last week and how Carson Wentz needs to stay healthy, and then boom, foot surgery. I mean, like, obviously we won't wish anything on anyone, but that just freaking figures. And Carson Wentz still can't get away from Nick Foles.
And he's contagious too, because now Quentin Nelson is out for the Colts too. Same injury and
same freaking timetable. It's deja vu. The two guys that they needed to be healthy on that offense both have the same timetable of injury. That just sucks.
Yep.
But literally, since
the injury bug is really what hit Philly, I think it just surrounds Carson Wentz. So now that he's out, we should be good.
Yeah. Literally since February 2018. I see you're wearing your Super Bowl shirt there. Literally since February of 2018, when Nick Foles won that Super Bowl, Carson Wentz has not been able to get away from Nick Foles. I almost feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I know Carson Wentz has said many times in the past, if he doesn't look at Nick Foles as he doesn't have any hard feelings against him and they're good friends and everything. But I mean, it has to come to the point where, like, I mean, you
Carson Wentz
Super Bowl from you, and
Wentz gets the phone calls like, hey, like, you're still our guy, but we just traded for Nick Foles. Like, Carson Wentz is gonna put the phone on mute and he's gonna, like, cuss out a storm while he has Jim Irsay on mute. Like, are you freaking kidding me?
See, the crazy part is obviously nothing is official and they didn't make that trade or anything. But I mean, really, it would be a perfect trade for both teams. The Bears have no need for Foles. Yeah. And then with the Colts having went out for a little bit, even if Foles only plays the first game and then Wentz is able to come back, you got a good backup and you probably got him for cheap for, I'd say probably like a 5th round pick. I can't imagine they get more than that.
Yeah. You could even work out a conditional, because he's the 3rd string quarterback in Chicago. Like, it's not like you're trading for their backup who has, like, young promise or something where you got to give up like a 3rd or something like that.
Right.
But back into the NFC North here, we have the Detroit Lions, who have quite the overhaul of the offseason. Another team that has a lot to talk about, and new coach, new quarterback. They lost Kenny Galladay to the New York Giants, but I'm gonna release my hot take here real quick that the Detroit Lions will be picking in the top 3 of next year's draft. I honestly think that they're gonna be that bad.
Wow.
Like, I really don't think, like, I love Penei Sewell. I love what he can bring to the table, but I just don't see enough outside of Penei Sewell and Jared Goff to warrant being any sort of successful in this division, let alone the conference. Everyone's playing their hardest ball right now. Honestly, there's 4 automatic losses right there for me. I feel like they're going to lose both to Chicago and they're going to lose both to Green Bay, and they might split with Minnesota. So, I mean, you're talking about 5 losses within the division right there. and that hurts as it is. And then you talk about, the rest of the schedule. You still have all those teams to play yet. I think this is a double-digit loss team, and this has the potential to get really bad. It doesn't warrant starting all over again and like firing Dan Campbell and guys like that. They still deserve a shot and everything, but I just don't believe in the Jared Goff-led Detroit Lions. I feel like Jared Goff's success in LA was carried by the weapons that he had and the defense that was able to carry him. I mean, now he doesn't have a defense that's led by Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. He's going to have to outscore teams in this fierce division. And Jared Goff has never proved to be able to do that by himself. He's always had to hand the ball off to Todd Gurley, 25 times a game, or any other running back that he's got, Cam Akers. Unfortunately, he's lost for the year now. That's LA's problem. But I just don't see enough in Detroit to warrant me to take them seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They if you look at their roster, they definitely don't have nearly enough talent to not have a top 3 pick, like you said. I agree with Jared Goff too. Like, in LA, he had, pretty solid O-line, couple running backs here and there, and plenty of weapons to throw to. And you had Sean McVay in his ear calling plays. Like, that's about as easy of a job as you're going to really get. So now going to Detroit, not really having that O-line besides Sewell. You don't really have any receivers because they lost Galladay. They have DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson, who they're not bad players, but they're not good enough to carry an offense by themselves.
No.
They're definitely good enough pieces that if they can build around them in the near future, then it could probably be pretty good for them. But you also have the X factor with that team, though, of Motor City Dan Campbell chewing out kneecaps. He's gonna, if he needs to, Dan Campbell will put back on the pads and go out there and help block for Jared Goff. If he needs to, he will.
The hell with that. He'll line up at fullback and get touchdowns since his offense damn well won't.
Yeah. And to be honest, like, they don't have the talent. And, I'd say for the most part, every team and every player in the NFL, they work hard and they play hard on Sundays for the most part. So I don't think it's really gonna, change any of the wins or losses in either of the columns. But I do feel like with how passionate you can tell Dan Campbell is, and like coaching staff that he put around him too, with like Deuce Staley, we miss you, and but like the passion there, I guarantee you he's going to have all 53 of his players ready to run through a brick wall for him on Sundays.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to help their case a little bit, but at the end of the day, you still need talent out on the field. But I'm really hoping that their new GM, with all these draft picks that he got for Stafford and everything, that they can, have a top 3 pick, go into next offseason, try and, figure out who their quarterback's going to be, try and put some talent around them. And, man, I hope that Dan Campbell can bring a winning team to Detroit, because I think that'll just be fun for the league.
Yeah, I agree. I think Dan Campbell, is the right piece for Detroit going forward. It's just like I said, I don't believe in Detroit right now. I know that's not what they're going for. Detroit is perceived around the league, and I think around Detroit in general, to where, they're in another rebuild. And it starts with this staff, and they're trying to get younger stability at the quarterback position. And they had Matthew Stafford, and he was a young quarterback. They were there, but they were always just this close, and they're trying to get a little closer, and they feel like if Goff can prove that he can lead a team, then that just makes everyone's job easier. Personally, I've never been a Jared Goff fan, even when he was coming out of the draft. I feel like he's a quarterback that is a lost, I want to say lost cause. He's a lost quarterback formula. We don't see it a lot anymore coming out of the draft where it's a quarterback who only throws the ball. You know what I mean? In this era of football, you need to be a quarterback that can move on your feet. And Jared Goff can't do that. He can scamper for a first down every now and again, but you rarely see him stepping out of the pocket and making throws down the field. And that's what Detroit needs in a quarterback. And that's why I think if Detroit is picking in top 3, top 5, like I think they will, they'll take one of these quarterbacks coming out of the draft and he'll fight with Goff. And that's where I think Detroit goes from there. Because they still have 2 good tackles, Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell. The quarterback does not have to worry about his tackles right now. I feel like once Detroit gets a quarterback that they feel that they can take seriously and read their team, then it makes everything so much easier. You still have to find out what you have in DeAndre Swift. TJ Hawkinson is an absolute stud. I feel like he's going to be that next line of tight ends that absolutely terrorize the middle of the field on Sundays. He still has a little bit of growth left to do. He's a little lackadaisical in run blocking and needs a better release off the line because most of the time you see him lining up in the slot like how a Zach Ertz does. But I feel like in a Dan Campbell offense, he's going to ask, those tight ends to be on the line of scrimmage a lot of the time, because that's what we saw Jared Goff doing a lot in LA. And that's where he had his success was under center rather than the shotgun. And I feel like Hawkinson, that's where he needs to grow a little bit. And I feel like he can. I feel like he'll take that next step this year and put himself in the conversation, not top 5, but a top 10 tight end. If he's not there already, there's a lot of arguments that you can make about, who the best tight end in the league is, Kittle versus Kelsey. And then you have Darren Waller and, guys like that. And Denver has their own guys with, Noah Fant and guys like that. But back to Detroit, you have some young prospects for your offense, but right now it's still not enough. Not in this division. This team is not ready. It won't be ready. They have a long way to go. It's not as drastic as like what the Houston Texans have to deal with, but it's not good right now for Detroit.
No, not at all. And I like Hawkinson a lot too. Definitely Iowa tight end George Kittle and Hawkinson and Fant and everybody. But they do have those young prospects for their offense. But I mean, if you look at the other side of the ball, they don't really have anything on defense. I mean, they have Okora, who I know to first 10 sacks, and Jeffrey Okuda, who they drafted top 5 last year. He didn't play too well. So it's like, maybe if he can have a bounce back season and actually look like a top 5 pick, then maybe they'll have some promising things on that side of the ball. But I think it's going to be, Detroit needs to be patient with this new regime because it's not going to be a quick rebuild. They're going to, next year is going to be probably finding their quarterback. And then if they find him, then, you're looking at another year to 2 years after that of building the team around them and trying to fix both sides of the ball. I think they're going to be in for a long rebuild, but I think as long as they're patient and Dan Campbell can coach and inspire his players, I think they might line up good because, you look at Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers is starting to get older there, and who knows if he's going to leave. So say he's there for another 3 years and then he's gone. Well, Green Bay might not be the favorites anymore when he's gone, and maybe by then Detroit kind of has their team built up, and they're ready to take over the reins. Who knows if it's going to happen like that, but definitely have the potential to.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm just worried about the division that they're in altogether, because even when Aaron Rodgers chooses to walk away, whether it's walk away with another team or walk away from the game, who knows where Chicago will be with Justin Fields, and Minnesota, who we can get into them now. And I'm going to drop my hot take on them real quick here. I feel like with the Minnesota Vikings, by week 9, we will see Kellen Mond under center for the Minnesota Vikings. I feel like Minnesota Vikings are stuck in neutral right now. I feel like they're not bad, but they're not good either. This is a team where I think they're a steady third place in this division. I mean, unless Kirk Cousins has another one of those, like, pull a rabbit out of his hat and, leads Minnesota somewhere, this is a team where they're going to be flirting with second or third, and that's it. I really don't think they're bad enough to, come in last in this division by any means, but I'm not high on Kirk Cousins for this team anymore. We saw it last year. The team is not going into rebuild mode, because you're still having Kirk Cousins there. If they were in a rebuild, they would have traded him to a quarterback needy team and go on from there. But, I mean, you don't trade a wide receiver like Stephon Diggs if you're not on a downhill slope a little bit. They got a nice return for Stephon Diggs. I mean, how could you not? The guy is a top 5 receiver in the NFL. But we're talking about a team who lost their chance. That defense is not what it used to be. We saw from about 2016 to last year, that was it. Their defense was there. It was, guys like Harrison Smith, Andrew Sendejo, Xavier Rhodes, guys like that, and then a monstrous defensive line. That defense is now gone. You still have a couple of those guys there, like Harrison and guys like that, but what's left from that defense has to be picked up by the offense, and it hasn't done that. It hasn't done that in years. Minnesota blew their chance to go back to the playoffs in 2018. They lost out on that, and it's like I said, this is a team that is stuck right now. They're not bad, they're not good. I think Minnesota is screwed, to say the least, right now, because they're a team that's trying to get out of the mud, but the harder you fight, the harder you fall. And this could be really bad for Minnesota this year. And I feel like if a lot of that comes on Kirk Cousins, that's where my hot take comes in. Minnesota is very high on Kellen Mond. They spoke on that after the draft. It's like why would you take Kellen Mond if he just signed Kirk Cousins to another extension? There's there's a lot of potential here. He's still very raw. He's still a lot to learn. He's not, as raw as like a Trey Lance coming out of the draft, where he only had X amount of starts. But I mean, he went to a SEC school, and we see it a lot anymore. Minnesota probably sees Dak Prescott in Dallas. You're like, oh, Mississippi State quarterback picked in the middle, can do something with that. And I feel like if Kirk Cousins is in a position where he isn't leading the team anywhere, Minnesota will at least be in a position where they can experiment a little bit. And if Kellen Mond comes in and he, shows out, then you have a decision to make. In which case I would choose Mond all day. Because then your team who is once stuck can start climbing out a little more now. And, maybe use one of those picks that you got from Buffalo to build your offensive line a little bit and get another receiver to replace the hole that Stephon Diggs left and guys like that. But right now, I do not like the Vikings' chances.
Yeah, I think they're kind of in a little bit of a transition right now, I'd say. Like, they used to be like when, we saw them in the NFC Championship game a couple years ago. they were really led by that defense, and their offense was good too, but it's led by like a Case Keenum, and but it was really that defense that got him there. And then you've kind of seen the defense kind of get worse and worse since then, with people aging and people leaving and all sorts of stuff like that. And then you kind of saw when they got Kirk Cousins that they kind of had a bit of an offense going then, because they had Thielen playing well, and Diggs and Rudolph and Cook, and they kind of had an offense going, so they were competitive. Well, now your defense, I'd say their defense is probably at an all-time low since that 2017 season. And then you look at that offense, and they lost Rudolph, and you see Thielen's getting older, and they have the young guys to kind of come in, like the Justin Jefferson and the Dalvin Cook, and see if Kellen Mond can take over, and you could kind of have like a somewhat young trio there.
Mhm.
But I feel like they're kind of still holding on to that, Cook, Cousins, and Adam Thielen, but I think my hot take for this team would be, I don't think they're going to be very good this year. They're not going to be terrible, but they're just going to be kind of like mediocre at best, I'd say. And I think at the end of the season, Mike Zimmer will be fired. They'll be looking for a offensive-minded coach to try and come in to coach Kellen Mond and Justin Jefferson, and try and get this young core of offense working well together. And they'll try and find a trade suitor for Kirk Cousins as well. I did like Kellen Mond a lot coming out of the draft. He definitely, made his mistakes at A&M, but he definitely had a lot of really good plays too. I know he had that great game against Alabama, and I mean, playing good against Alabama is as close to an NFL team as you're gonna play.
Yeah.
So, I think Kellen Mond will really benefit if they do let Kirk Cousins play all year, and then maybe last couple weeks of the season you throw him out there, kind of see what he can do, kind of like a Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. Like we were like, Carson Wentz is gonna play, so we start struggling. Okay, now put in Kellen Mond. Just kind of see what he can do, try and get some flashes of what you think might come, and then I think they'll kind of be in the same boat as Philly right now. Trade Cousins for some draft picks, try and draft, maybe some more receiver help, kind of cut ties with Thielen. They definitely look like they're in a similar boat to Philly. Like, they're gonna have. We just cut Alshon. I'd say next year they're probably gonna. They could probably trade Adam Thielen, but they might,
You're not gonna
depending
get
on how
anything
he
for
plays this year. But they have the potential to have a young core if Kellen Mond does check out and everything. The problem becomes, though, is look at the division you're in. You got Green Bay and Chicago. They're not better than Green Bay and Chicago. If Kirk Cousins comes out and plays amazing and is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, to be honest, I still don't think that they're better than Chicago or Green Bay.
Yeah, now that's a hot take right there. Yeah, because I feel like Minnesota's success falls on Kirk Cousins, because they do have a young core. Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. You have a veteran in the wide receiver room, and Adam Thielen, who's seen a lot of time, seen a lot of games, seen a lot of hits. And then and the defense is really young. They still have a young core right now, but they're stuck at quarterback right now. That's where I mentioned, they're a little stuck in the mud right now. They're trying to climb out with the quarterback that they got, but Kirk Cousins ain't going to get you there. You're stuck a little bit. You need a quarterback to get you over the hump to compete for this division.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think they also it's going to be interesting to see how much of a loss for them Anthony Harris and Eric Wilson are as Eagles fans. watching tape from them, they definitely looked like they were pretty good players. So, Minnesota's defense was not nearly the best last year. And, I think Eric Kendricks was hurt last year, so they will be getting him back. And they do have Danielle Hunter, who is a very talented pass rusher, but they have a lot of work to do, I think, before they really start competing with Green Bay and Chicago.
Yeah, I agree. But on to standings and record predictions. What do you got for the division? I think we both have Green Bay standing at first, but what do you have their record as?
All right, so I'm going Green Bay number 1. I think it's going to be close between them and Tampa, but I think Green Bay is going to take the number 1 seed in the NFC, and they're going to be doing so with a 14-3 record.
Okay.
I think they're gonna, as long as Aaron Rodgers can play, they're definitely gonna be hungry. I think a lot of the players on the team are gonna be grateful too. They spent all that time winning last year, and the uncertainty of Rodgers, I'm sure they were looking at it like, oh man, I don't want to suck next year if he doesn't play. So now that he is playing, they're gonna, I feel like they will be grateful for it, and just how talented they are. I think they are going to take the number 1 seed. Then I'm going Chicago number 2. I think it's kind of tricky either way, just because of Justin Fields. I think they're going to have a winning record, but I think if Justin Fields kind of comes out and plays like not bad, not great, just kind of, he's not losing the games for them or anything like that, I think they're going to go with like a 9-8 record. I think if Fields can come out and really blaze it up and make that offense fun to watch, I'm going to say they go 11-6. But so I'll say in the middle, I'll go 10-7 to cover both sides. Minnesota, I think they're gonna struggle this year, and especially with being in a tough division too. I'm gonna say 6-11 for them, and then I say Detroit. The amount of talent they have, I want to say like 1 win, but because of Dan Campbell, I'm gonna say that they're gonna win 5 games and go 5-12.
I got you. So, like I said, both of us have Green Bay as number 1 in the division, but much like you, I'm also going to take them number 1 in the conference. But I think they go 15-2. I really don't think that there's a team outside of maybe Chicago, based on their potential, that has anything for this team. I feel like Aaron Rodgers, see it on social media, Michael Jordan's The Last Dance, that came out this past year. Like, is this Aaron Rodgers, like last dance? And like, if it is, then the NFL is screwed, because Aaron Rodgers is going to eat defenses alive, because he knows that if it's in his mind that he's given this 1 more year and he walks away from the game, if he feels he has nothing left to prove, then he's going to go 15-2 all the way to the Super Bowl. I feel like this is Green Bay's actual best chance to reach the Super Bowl, even better than last year. Because like you said, Green Bay, all those guys, they're like, man, I don't want to suck. I don't want to nothing against Jordan Love, but he's not going to get us as far as Aaron Rodgers. But now that those guys see number 12 is throwing to him and handing the ball off to him, they're like, all right, let's go. Let's go. I'm all in. Let's go win this Super Bowl. Enough is enough with these NFC title game losses. Let's go to the freaking Super Bowl and let's win this thing. So 15-2 for Green Bay. I am actually going to go a tie for second in this division between Chicago and Minnesota at a 9-8. But due to tiebreaker, I give second to Chicago. I feel like both these teams are, right there in terms of their potential, but they just lose too many games here and there. They win 2 games, then they lose 3, and then vice versa. Type of seasons is what I'm expecting from these 2 teams. I feel like there's not much to be said about the rivalry that those 2 teams have. Now, granted, if Justin Fields comes in and is a rookie phenom, then I can see where you're getting at with a 10-7 record. Granted, I'm close with a 9-8 and everything. I just worry about the fights within the division and with how young both teams are. Young nucleuses, and it could have the potential to go relatively good or pretty bad. But I feel like the teams are too talented enough with their young nucleus that they can at least be over 500. Granted, it's not like you can go 500 anymore anyway with a 17-game schedule, but rounding out last place, I'm actually going to say that the Detroit Lions finish with a 4-13 record and sit on the 4th pick in the draft. I feel like, like I said earlier, I do not believe in this Detroit Lions team at all. I feel like they'll be in a position to pick a quarterback and maybe jump the rebuild and try to get better. But right now with this Detroit team, there are far too many holes and new coaching staff. Dan Campbell may be like a motivating coach and everything, but unless he plans on putting on the pads, this team ain't going anywhere good. It's only bad. I feel like the only teams that'll be worse than them are that of Houston if they lose Deshaun Watson. We'll see with that, and a couple of other teams here and there. But right now, I don't see anything special with Detroit, so I think they round out last.
Yeah, and like you said there, I don't think Dan Campbell has to put on the pads to help. Actually, what he's going to do is just go out to midfield when the team captains do the coin toss, and he's just going to gnaw out their kneecaps so the other team's captains can't play. And then they got it.
Yeah, they're going to take out the kneecaps, and then the Lions players are going to fight each other like they did today.
Exactly.
And Dan Campbell still won't care.
Yep. Unlike Joe Judge.
Who knows? Dan Campbell might be the one throwing punches to start the fight. Jared Goff looks at him the wrong way and he punches the California out of him.
There you go.
He's like, this is Detroit, pretty boy.
Yep, California boy gotta wake up, smell the roses in Detroit.
Yep. But we want to remind everyone again that we are going to be doing a fantasy football league this year. If you want in, drop your name in the comments section or reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter. Our Twitter handles will be in the description below. And as always, thank you everyone for tuning in this week. We will be back on the AFC next Wednesday night recording. If any of you want to relay any questions for who you want us to do next, please feel free. And Thomas, any closing remarks?
I don't think so. It's again the reminder about fantasy football league, and then thank God football is back. We're recording this on Wednesday, and tomorrow Thursday we got some preseason football. Pittsburgh versus Dallas. So thank God football is back.
Yes. It's been far too long. We finally get some crowd back. Absolutely.
But other than that, everybody have a good week, and we'll see you again next week.
And as always, go Birds.
Go Birds.